This author is a journalist, not a tech skeptic, not a privacy advocate, but she was wearing the Meta Ray-Bans smart glasses, which allow you to pretty much just spy on anybody, everybody, without them really knowing you're doing it. Now, if you haven't been following, this has been a thing for a while, but Meta, the company that develops Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, run by our favorite person, Mark Zuckerberg, who is not a creep, we'll get to him in a second here, has started selling these smart glasses that have built-in cameras. And I think a little bit more of the concerns behind these is that they don't make it quite as obvious when you are recording as maybe something else would. Now, there is a blinking LED to try to alert people when this device is recording, but it's important to share as well that there are workarounds that are shared online. And even the light itself is pretty easy to miss in bright conditions. When I'm going through IKEA, and we'll talk about IKEA because the author talks about their IKEA experience wearing these, I'm not looking around to see what everybody's wearing and if their face is flashing a red light randomly. And even the author kind of backs this up, now have earned a nickname Pervert glasses. They pretty much went to IKEA, realizing they don't have to suffer alone. They used the glasses to place their first video call. At first, it's all fun and games, showing him the Swedish snacks and soft toys, and he tries to order me to fling some around and have a weird interaction with an employee. It's quite fascinating too, because the author, I really recommend reading the article itself. It's going to be in the description. But the idea here is, this is overall the theme of the article. I can't deny, not only do I feel creepy wearing them, but they also lead me to think like a creep. When I see a stranger walking her look-alike dog, and when I run into an ex for the first time in years, both times I have the fleeting thought, I wish I'd been recording. I don't know if any of you have seen Black Mirror, but there's actually a Black Mirror episode where they can essentially recall any moment in the past, and it's kind of like stored permanently in their memory, but you can actually recall your memory. It's kind of like Windows Recall, but for real life, and it actually works because it's not made by Microsoft. But this is a very dystopian idea, and I think people don't really think about kind of the uncertainty and oddity of what it would look like. Just imagine if you have a video camera that records literally everything you do every single day, everywhere you go, every discussion you have is saved. And it's not just saved, but it's in the hands of someone like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. And we'll talk about that specific layer of this in just a second here. End of the article here before I start sharing why I even wanted to bring this to your guys' attention. She said, when a small child crosses my path, I instinctively immediately whip my head towards the shelves with a sinking feeling. I cannot fathom what sort of person would be untroubled by doing this, or worse, feel entitled to do it. After that, I never make another video call and stop dismissing Meta glasses as a gimmick. A lot of these things that we're trying to pass right now, like age verification and trying to ban end-to-end encryption, all these things are happening in the interest of keeping children safe, but Meta's just allowed to have this device that anybody can strap onto their head and get around the light restrictions so that you don't even need to know they're recording you, and that's not a concern to politicians. I find that quite fascinating. And we'll also talk about the lack of ability to opt out, which is kind of a point here. Like, you don't know if somebody's doing this. You don't have an actual relationship that you've developed where you even accepted any terms and conditions. So we'll get to that in a second. But even beyond that, non-consensual and covert filming are only the tip of the iceberg. For Meta, smart glasses are a way to gather masses of data on individual users and whatever or whomever they are seeing. Some media and interactions captured on Meta glasses could be used to train its AI, which the company itself admits. If you knew it was being done with all the imagery after you'd recorded it, I don't think you'd be doing it the way you are. Before I dive into the more of the technical concerns I have with this kind of stuff, I just want to really zoom out and be very, practical about this and just talk about Meta as a company. Remember, Meta did this whole thing where they tried to say that the next big thing was not a real thing, which is called the metaverse, and they rebranded their entire company around this, calling themselves Meta instead of just Facebook, like they used to call themselves. Yeah, that's practically dead now. That was just a way for them to keep shareholders interested while their profits and their users were probably slipping behind the scenes. This is probably another extension of this. They say Meta is betting big on this, but I think, as always with Meta, this is just another way to keep their kind of BS going, which is, guys, Meta doesn't have a business model outside of exploiting users. That is their entire business model. Meta has never really gotten away with selling good hardware that people want to buy, selling good software people want to buy. Almost all of you watching, if you use any of Meta's services, whether they're WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, etc., you're probably not paying for them. So who's paying for them? Companies who are running ads are paying from them. And what's the actual product here? It's you and your data, and who you are as a person is the commodification. So it's really important to remember this and that kind of context when you think about these kind of glasses. And it's worth mentioning, kind of like the metaverse, which had a ton of memes regarding how good it actually was. Zuckerberg, and this is from the article, was presenting the Meta display on stage last year, and he repeatedly tried and failed to make a simple video call. And the author's experience was similarly haphazard. The AI frequently mishears her, cuts out midway through answering questions, or reads aloud only some new texts in a chain. I really want to remind people that Facebook and Meta do not make money from building quality products. They make money from exploiting users. This is not even a debate anymore in 2026. Another layer to this is the behavior change. I think it's really creepy to see how quickly somebody's behavior changes based on the technology they're using. Now, this is something I believe very strongly in. I believe that the choice that you make in terms of what phone you buy, what services you use, where they're even held throughout the day actually has a very major impact. What I mean by that last point, when you keep a phone in your pocket or you hold your phone in your hand, I think that completely changes your relationship with the device throughout the day. Whereas if you put it in your backpack, that means a very different thing. When I'm going out and I'm on a longer trip, or I'm taking the train, or I'm taking public transit, and my phone is in my backpack, that to me signals to myself that this isn't something I'm going to be actively reaching for unless I absolutely need to. Just like if I had a water bottle in my backpack, I'm only going to grab water if I'm thirsty, kind of like I only need to grab my phone if I need it. But when it's in your pocket, or if you're holding your water bottle in your hand the whole time, you might just take more sips throughout the day. Now, in the context of water, that might be good, actually. So maybe we do want to hold our water bottles, but we probably don't want to hold our phones all day. That's not going to be reinforcing what I would consider healthy habits day to day. And I feel like this is just an extension of this overall concept. I think that when you have something on your face, it is completely changing your interaction with the world. There is literally something that is sitting between you and the world. And this is where I think things are quite dangerous with technology. We already, goddamn, I mean, I'm like walking around and people just don't even look up. I get cut off on a daily basis pretty much now because people don't even want to look up from their phones, which are down here. And so I can't even imagine what a world looks like where people are even further disconnected from reality, that they can't even look around to see that they're living in the real world. And I think that these glasses are a very dangerous extension of that, where people's entire concept of reality is going to become even more blurred. I think she used these things for about a month, and she already said that they became second nature that quickly. And that's kind of the scary part, is that these aren't even bad actors who could weaponize this or become a victim to this. These could just be you and me. I think if I wore these things on a constant basis, I would also probably fall victim to these things, because Meta knows this is how people are going to use their devices. A lot of this is biology. Things that you wear, things that you do, things that you interact with in the world are going to change your behaviors. And companies like Meta very much know this. And I think they're going to try to weaponize that. This part of the video is sponsored by JETBRAINS. You probably know JETBRAINS for their IDEs, which are tools trusted by developers across pretty much every language and platform. They've had a coding agent called Junie for a while now, but it used to be locked to just JETBRAINS IDEs exclusively. But that's changing with Junie CLI. It's the same agent, now available in your terminal, in any IDE, and plugged into any workflow, meaning you don't have to overhaul your setup to start using it. Junie CLI is LLM agnostic, so you can actually bring your own API key and use whichever model you prefer. And to get you started, JETBRAINS covers Gemini 3 Flash usage with $50 included. You can delegate tasks ranging from writing tests all the way up to refactoring entire code bases, and it integrates into CI/CD pipelines for automatic code reviews on every commit. This is a great way to get started or just evolve your software experience, whether you're building open source software or whatever else you're working on. Head to the link in the description to check it out and get started today. Now imagine if they sold 1 billion of these, right? Facebook/Meta, Instagram, they claim to have 3 billion active users. So imagine that's almost half the world. Imagine almost half the people in the world are wearing a pair of these glasses. And I like for you to just imagine the kind of data that they would have access to 24/7, the kind of private conversations, the kind of just creepiness that would exist. I mean, therapy, religion, church, temples, like whatever it is. Like think of like the sensitive environments. Do we want to live in a world where you don't know if somebody's wearing glasses, if it's safe or not? I would say that's pretty creepy. And the sad thing is that this is coming from a company that has a track record of betting big on the future and completely missing, and in the process, still introducing this technology and normalizing it so everybody else thinks they have to, hop on this bandwagon. It's just like AI and just slopping AI on absolutely slopping, I guess, is a new verb. Slapping AI slop on everything, slopping. And companies feel pressure to do that, even though a lot of the companies that originally were pushing this are even backing off a little bit, including Microsoft. Every person wearing these glasses becomes a potential recording device. Facial recognition is already on Meta's roadmap. Of course, we already know that Meta is not going to care about your privacy. They have a history of abusing your privacy. And this is as privacy invasive, I think, as they can possibly get with current technology. LED workarounds already exist, and the regulation simply is not there. There is absolutely nothing stopping Meta from doing almost anything with this data that they want to do with it. Now, I really want to talk about consent here. This really calls into question relationships and consent. Yes, I think it's important, of course, in the way that you're probably thinking in terms of partners and whatnot, and family members, whatever. But I like to see every service I register for on the internet as a relationship that I am developing. When I register for an Amazon account, an Apple account, a Google account, or Facebook account, whatever the account is or whatever account you're registering for, that is a relationship you are entering. When you click accept to terms and conditions, you're accepting the terms of this relationship. Now, the sad thing is that nowadays, I would argue many of these relationships are toxic. These services are exploiting you and getting a lot more from you than in some ways you get from them. And they are not being transparent or honest about what's really going on behind the scenes. And they are freely sharing your information with third parties at times, which would be to me the equivalent of a partner cheating on you. So these are not healthy relationships. And we have these toxic relationships with a lot of tech companies, unless you're going with one of the more ethical companies that cares about your data, cares about your privacy, and is truly trying to build a service that only benefits you without needing to exploit you, which is quite rare nowadays. Somewhat okay thing is that as of right now, this is quite consolidated to an individual. If you register for a Google account, you're forming that relationship with Google. But if your friend doesn't register for a Google account, they can be mostly spared from that. Now, there is a bit of nuance to that because, if your friend is using Gmail and you have a Proton Mail account, if you email them, Gmail's still going to get a copy of your emails unless you use a password-protected email in Proton, which most people aren't going to do. But the point is, if your friends are using privacy-invasive technology, you are indirectly impacted by that as well. If a friend is using the Facebook app and they share their address book with the Facebook app, which most people do, especially if they use Facebook Messenger, then Facebook is getting your phone number along the way. So I really like people to zoom out and think of these privacy concerns in a societal lens because this stuff really matters. Now, let's ramp that up a bajillion times and apply it to this situation. When someone is at IKEA and they take videos of you, they're not just taking videos for themselves. They're taking videos for Zuckerberg, for Meta, for all the employees at Meta who can probably access this footage. They admit that they can use this and train it. And that is not something that anybody's consenting to at all. Period. And it's sad because I actually don't think that we should have any kind of laws against filming in public. There are really important reasons to have that, but you also have no recourse. And I think that you should have some recourse in this situation. And the reality is, this is just a very on-the-face version of what already happens. When you log in to have a web therapy session, there probably are third-party trackers that go to other companies. We've literally seen these therapy apps that submit all of your sensitive data to companies like Facebook. Many websites you access have third-party trackers that are tied to Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And so it's important to mention that even if you don't have accounts with these services, unless you know what to do and kind of work around them. And a lot of our other content talks about what to do. And I'll leave probably a relevant video in the card for you guys to check it out. This is happening all the time. And I think it's the biggest issue here is that not only are we all part of these toxic relationships, but you're actually being exploited for relationships you don't even know that you're a part of. So really glad they did this write-up. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. I know a lot of our audience probably is already pretty opposed to this kind of stuff, but I'd be curious for any angles that you guys have out there. In terms of practical advice, I don't have a huge amount. This is more of just kind of a commentary piece from me responding to a commentary piece by someone else. But I will say some practical advice. I think social pushback is very much real. If you have any friends or family, ask them to take them off around you. If they don't respect that, honestly, I think that's pretty ridiculous. So I think you can ask strangers to stop. It's okay to talk to other people, make them actually realize they're in the real world. Because I feel like if you put these things on, it's quite easy to disconnect from the real world. And so part of what we can do is to push back against that and remind people, hey, you're actually living in the real world. This applies to people in public transit who don't use headphones and just have everything playing on speaker, who also are just living in their own world. I think it's fine to tap them and go, hey, you're not in your own world. There's actually other people here too. So I think we can normalize this as a social response. And I think the bigger ask that I would have for Facebook, Meta, et cetera, is they need to have privacy protections, not just for the individuals wearing these things, but the people who are caught in this video. The fact this isn't even something they seem to be concerned about, A, doesn't surprise me given Facebook's history, but B, should be some kind of legal requirement. We know Facebook's not going to do it because they want to do it. And so we need to get ahead of this ASAP. I don't think this is a world that we should just accept by default. So this isn't about banning the tech. I don't have anything inherently wrong with the technology itself, but it's about insisting on norms and legal frameworks to keep pace with what's going on. Because this is super creepy. And I feel like if it goes completely if we just let it do what it's going to do with what Meta wants it to do, this is going to benefit absolutely nobody except Meta and maybe some creepy perverts. That's pretty much about it. So yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. And if you want to learn more about what's going on in the world, I would recommend checking out our Surveillance Report podcast. We talk weekly about these different weird stories in a long form format, and I give like 5 to 10 minutes on each major story. So I'll see you guys in next week's Surveillance Report, and I'll see you next time on Techlore.